there will be a short delay of flight.
Welcome to another edition of Coffee and Beats. I am your musical barista, Rod the Magnificent, back with another classic album review. And before I get into that, hit the share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share these videos with your loved ones because I'm sure they will all love to hear this. Now, let's get right into our episode. What classic album I'm going to be talking about today? Well, as you saw in the thumbnail, I'll be talking about the 10-year anniversary of this very good album, one of the most treasured albums in my discography, and that is Tame Impala's 2015 third album, Currents. And this was a project. I tell you, this album resonates with me to this day. I still bump this album 10 years later. It is, in my opinion, a classic, and I'll explain why as I go further into the review. But it's been 10 years since Tame Impala Currents dropped, and it's safe to say that this album has not aged a bit. Back in 2015, Kevin Parker, who's the lead mastermind behind Tame Impala, took a big leap. Instead of sticking to the psychedelic rock sound that he did in his first two albums, most notably his debut, Inner Speaker, and the follow-up, Lonerism, which me personally, a lot of Tame Impala fans will argue with you to the bits that Lonerism is Tame Impala's classic, and I will not argue with you on that. I love Lonerism as well. I thought it was one of the most slept on albums of 2012. And so if you love Lonerism more than you love this one, I apologize that I'm not doing a review of Lonerism. But back to Currents, he pushed into a more dream pop lane here, with groovy beats, with introspective lyrics, and this shift might have surprised many fans who were avid followers of the group before Currents came out. Now, the album kicks off with the track Let It Happen, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. I just love the length, the longevity of this project. 8 minutes of masterpiece. It sets the tone for the rest of the album. It's a journey in itself. It's full of layered sound, funky rhythms, electronic loops that make you feel like you're floating, pretty much. The way Parker seamlessly blends in these elements is nothing short of genius. And even if you heard this song over 100 times like myself, it still feels fresh. And then you got other tracks, The Less I Know the Better. This became a huge hit off the album, and it remains a fan favorite with bouncy bass lines and catchy choruses. And it's kind of a song that helps get you into that groove. It's beyond infectious in regards to sound. The lyrics, to top off, it gives you that feeling of heartbreak and rejection, which is what the tone that Parker was trying to go for, and he executed it very well. Another standout track is the song Eventually. The lyrics deal with letting go of someone even when it hurts, and the music mirrors that emotion perfectly. And it's, even although it's heavy, it's also soothing at the same time. And then you got 'Cause I'm a Man, which leans into a more smooth, soulful. It shows off Parker's ability to explore vulnerability in his songwriting, and the way he admits his faults, admits his flaws, his imperfections in a very honest way is what makes Currents a special project. And it's not just about the sounds, it's about the emotions that Parker gives behind each and every track off this album. Sometimes you have to look up the lyrics to what he's talking about on some of these songs, as his voice is very drowned out in some of the songs, especially some of the deeper cuts on the album. Take, for example, like the hypnotic song Nangs, which is basically less than a 2-minute project, but it's a loop of him saying the same lyrics over and over again over a hypnotic beat. And if you go look up this song on YouTube, there's a lot of extended versions of this track which I downloaded myself because the song is just too short for its own good. It's such a beautiful song. Even though it's a B-side, it is amazing. You also got Reality in Motion, which is also a very brilliant song to really bring this project of Currents into extraordinary heights. And I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight the cover that Tame Impala did on New Person, Same Old Mistakes, with its pulsating drums and dreamy presentation. And this track later became a foundation for Rihanna's B-side gem. And while many fans might debate whether Rihanna's original version outshines Tame Impala's cover or vice versa, I'll leave that to the comment section to debate. But what makes Current stand out even to this day is how perfectly balanced it feels. It's both deeply personal, it's universally appealing. Parker handles every instrument and vocal himself on a lot of these songs that he's done, and yet the music feels almost like a full band is jamming out together, and the production is top notch with every sound polished but not overdone. And listening to Currents now, it's clear that it was an influence throughout the 2010 decade. A lot of artists hopped on this lane when Currents came out. So many people were wondering, oh, what is this Tame Impala group all about? You saw the likes of Bruno Mars jumping on it, Mark Ronson jumping on the bandwagon. He actually did a lot of cuts off the Mark Ronson project. Tame Impala grabbed a lot of attention during that time span, even Rihanna's when he did the cover, and also a lot of hip hop. He had a lot of hip hop features too, even after the explosion of this album. And so you see how the groovy bass lines, the catchy synths, and the introspective lyrics captured the attention of so many artists who jumped on the Tame Impala bandwagon, and they have become a generational group. And it has been 10 years since this album came out. Slow Rush is 5 years old as well. I think actually, as of this recording, Currents will be turning 10 officially in July, because I think the project released in July. I don't have those notes in front of me. Correct me in the comment section below, but this will mark the 10-year anniversary of this project. So how do you feel about it? What's your thoughts on Currents? Do you think Currents is Tame Impala's classic? Let me know in the comment section below. In short, Currents is not just an album, it's an experience. Whether you're revisiting it or hearing it for the first time, it's a reminder of how music can be deeply personal and endlessly innovative. And 10 years later, it's still a masterpiece. Actually tapping back into this thing, I just really appreciated this project. Brought back some nostalgic memories of me listening to this album, and also the nostalgic memory of putting a lot of people up on Tame Impala, because up until that point, a lot of people didn't really know about Tame Impala. They were kind of a mystery unless you were a avid follower of their psychedelic rock days. But other than that, Tame Impala is amazing. I also heard that they are going to be dropping a new album this year, so they are kind of following that every 5-year album release pattern. So can't wait for that. But until then, Currents is a timeless vibe and is an album that truly deserves to be celebrated. And that will do it for this edition of Coffee and Beats. I am your musical barista, Rod the Magnificent. And again, we got one more week to go in Classic Month, as I have one more classic review that I will be going to be doing with my next episode. And I might have a special guest for that episode. So stay tuned for that. And if you can guess which artist I'm going to be doing on the next episode, put that in the comments as well. But until then, I am your musical barista, Rod the Magnificent. When it comes to coffee, when it comes to music, stay grounded for life. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.